Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird,
Jaime Fuego here.
and we are here to do a advanced review for the brand new sequel, Unfriended Dark Web. Now, I will say that while it is a sequel in name, to my knowledge, it did not have anything to do with the first one. And not only that, but it took sort of a different route with the same sort of presentation. So we'll get into that as we go on. This is going to be largely a non-spoiler review, but we can do a spoiler section at the. We'll probably do a separate little spoiler discussion. We always do. Let's get this review done like usual. Fuego will do our overall thoughts, then we'll talk about the story, the acting, the effects, the effects, so to speak. But let's jump into it. I will say about this one that it was not as satisfying as the first one to me.
Really, I haven't seen the first one, so I can't compare,
No,
unfortunately.
yeah,
But
it was not as satisfying as the first one. It was still good enough to keep me engaged the entire way through. I was concerned that I would fall asleep, but I did not. I did stay awake to watch the whole thing, which is good, except for the fact that ultimately I was a bit disappointed with how, excuse me,
bless you, son.
with how everything played out. It just felt a little sort of rote and not really that interesting. And then I had, I know Fuego, you and I were the same on this. I had my issues with the characters themselves. So,
Yep,
yeah. How
big
about
time,
you, man? What
unfortunately.
were your thoughts on the film overall?
Yeah, the film overall, I mean, once again, I was more interested than I thought I was going to be. I thought it was going to be total trash, personally. Unlike some of the people I saw who were buzzing about it out of the festival, the trailer didn't hook me or anything like that. And I thought it was especially weird that they were going kind of an anthology approach with this, because the last one was supernatural from what I've read, and this one totally wasn't. It was more so about, these dark sectors of the web where horrible things are hiding as far as just seedy, awful shizzle that people do. But I mean, overall, while it kept my attention, I can't say I was particularly compelled. I did want to see how it panned out, but I mean, I wasn't just over the moon or anything. It was just kind of okay. That was a movie, and this approach doesn't really captivate me that much anyway. I don't like these kind of found footagey, high tech kind of stuff, and yet even being high tech, I felt like there was a lot of smoke and mirrors as far as like how realistic is this actually, so overall it was just okay. It wasn't crap or anything, but yeah, maybe not just the kind of movie for me. So
There were a lot of sort of possibly interesting ideas, in my opinion. The sort of self-erasing messages were kind of cool,
yep.
but there were some interesting ideas, but the whole thing was just not really carried through on in a very interesting way. And all the characters were not only super flat, but it's sort of the new evolution of the archetypes for it's sort of what the millennial archetypes are now. You
Hmm.
have the badass rocking musician chick. You have the uber smart foreign computer geek. You have the conspiracy theorist kid that's
Yeah.
wacky, and then you have, of course, the forward thinking gay couple of the group. And then it's
Sweet but flawed protagonist,
right.
and
Well, yeah, sweet but extremely flawed, as we find out, throughout the course of things. But while that seems like, I'm sure some people will be like, okay, that doesn't sound terrible, except that it's stuff we've seen before so many times. It's new to millennials, but it's definitely not new to us. It's just an evolution of stuff we've definitely seen before,
well, and
just
they're
with some
also one
gender
note.
swapping and stuff like that.
They're
And
also
yeah,
one note and boring, man. I mean,
yeah, exactly, like you say. I mean, we'll get to that during the characters
yeah,
and the actors and stuff. But story-wise, it basically starts off with this guy getting into his new laptop and starting up a chat with his girlfriend, who happens to be a deaf mute, and Well, I don't know if she's deaf or not. We get the impression that
I thought she was deaf. Yeah.
deaf. We don't know. Maybe. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure if she's supposed to be deaf mute or not. But nonetheless, definitely deaf because she signs, and he doesn't sign very well. But he's developed this program that, you know, flashes up the words that he's saying very quickly at the same time cycling through the actual signs of those words. Which is kind of an interesting program. And I'm like, okay, I wonder how this is going to come into play later. And,
Papaya or whatever it's called.
Papaya. Yeah. And then another flaw in the story is it never really pays off in any particular way. Like,
no,
it does come back, but not in the way you might hope or think. But again, you know, so the story continues on in a very sort of rote way. You know, they introduce this cast of characters, this friend, or this group of friends that he's supposed to meet for game night, but they decide to do it over Skype instead. So there's this big sort of Google Hangout-ish call. He's trying to juggle talking to them and talking to his girlfriend who he's in a fight with, when all of a sudden he starts getting these messages on this computer that he bought off of Craigslist. And it's like all these, you know, some kind of weird messages about, hey, you said you were going to send me plane tickets, and then other weird messages like, who the hell is this? You know, I know you're there. And it turns out that the computer, you know, that he got off of Craigslist happens to be stolen and happens to belong to someone that is a part of a dark underbelly of society, of the web.
Dark web.
Exactly. The kids, you know, who are sharing screens, get embroiled in this mess that this computer has with, like, it's got video footage of past crimes and things like that. So it actually set up an interesting premise, and I will say that much about the story. It kept me engaged because I wanted to see where things were going, but it wasn't character driven. It was actually more like, I'm interested to see how the story plays out. It's not that it's an interesting story, it's that I was interested in seeing how it played out. I guess, you know. Fuego, what are your thoughts on the story?
Yeah, I was curious myself because I was really wondering how effed up the villains, you know, this kind of circle of just horrendous voyeuristic people, presumably, who I guess you kind of get the vibe they're hackers as well. But yeah, the one thing that I was kind of surprised by was there was a lot of press saying that this was like the most messed up Blumhouse film that they'd ever done. And hype big time, because I thought, I mean, some of those videos that they showed, I thought they were going to really go for it, and I don't think that they did. I think you would have maybe just been that much more on edge if they had shown something much more sadistic instead of just, there was a lot of suggestion as opposed to just really showing grisly, terrible things. And maybe some of the payoffs would have been more effective if we'd seen some nastier stuff. Not that, you know, I'm just bloodthirsty or anything, but
no, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it would have packed a little bit more punch, and so I didn't feel as on edge once this circle of evil people starts finally trying to, you know, hit back at him for stumbling upon, you know, these horrible things they've been doing. So, I mean, story-wise, once again, like you said, potential, and I was engaged, especially at the onset, but once it went into there was too much melodrama with the characters, and they were all too one-note, like we said earlier, and I mean, I was still intrigued by the villains, I guess, to some degree, but I felt like they could have made them more interesting. So,
yeah, the faceless villains. Which, by the way, this sort of thing, this dark web group of people that basically is, you know, it's a work for hire system where you can have people do bad stuff. You can pay them to do it. It's been touched on so many times at this point by different movies. Keep Watching, which we have a review ready to go up on the internet. We've had it ready to go up for a couple months. I did a review of that, which is about a group of people that puts cameras all over houses and then stalks and kills the family in the houses for people to watch on the internet. And it's like, oh my God, okay. So
that sounds very similar, actually.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And that had Bella Thorne and Chandler Riggs, you know. Yeah, so I did not like it very much, as you'll see in the review. But this was interesting, but it didn't even carry through in an interesting way. My big problem with it is, you know, in horror movies now, they've raised the stakes. You can't just pick people off
Nope.
Unless it's in super gory ways. If you pick them off in super gory ways, that's satisfying enough. But otherwise, you have to be more clever, and they have to fight. They have to fight back. You can't just have 6 characters get one by one picked off in extraordinarily passive manners. It doesn't make sense. It's not that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make for an interesting film.
Yeah,
And
there has to be an ebb and flow, and I mean, cat and mouse, where the cat is doing everything, and the mouse isn't really. I mean, it's quicker and smaller, and so it has the ability to hide and whatever. And we didn't really get much of that balance that we needed, I think, and maybe that's why the payoffs of, you know, when characters did start getting off, because you see it in the trailer. You know, some of these Skypers are going to get it, and with the exception of 1 or 2 scenarios, I can't say they were that interesting beats in the movie. You know?
No, and especially, and again, it became so apparent, you know, within like 20 minutes of the movie, I'm like, oh, this is clearly PG-13 horror, because you couldn't.
And yet, I think it was R-rated.
No, it couldn't have been.
I gotta look.
There's no way it could have been R-rated. No fucking way. I'll eat my hat if it was R-rated. Because there's no way. There was nothing that would have made that R-rated in the least bit.
Rated R. Rated R.
What?
Yeah, how?
How?
I mean,
why?
There was sex. There was really not a lot of cussing or anything.
No, we must have gotten the PG cut, because that was not an R-rated movie. Oh my god, that's so like. Now I'm really pissed.
That's
because
really
they got approved. They got approved for an R rating, and then they didn't even use it. Show the gore. Show the craziness. Show the evil. Like
maybe there was one part near the end, remember, but even that was tame, man.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's so weird because it starts off, it makes you think like it's going to be a supernatural thing, and then it changes, and it's like, wait, so how did all the supernaturally shit happen earlier? Like, what is that about? Is it just a technological disruptor that like only is selectively like? It seems they took so many weird turns. That I was getting whiplash some of the time, and the characters, again, they're all pretty one note. They're all character types that we've seen before. I did like the deaf girl, but I mean, she was.
It's funny how she felt like she had the most personality out of all of them.
Yeah, well, it's because she shows, doesn't tell, because she can't tell. You know.
True.
I don't know, man. So, yeah, the story was rough. The characters, there was nothing to them. The actors did not shine through, like we said, except for that one. I don't know. Did you like any of the other actors, Fuego?
Yeah, the British guy was okay. But then again, once again, very serviceable. The dude who definitely irritated me was how stereotypical cookie cutter they went with the conspiracy theorist guy talking about, Bilderbergers and, all this different stuff. I was just like, okay, I've heard all of this for years and years and years, and he was just approaching it from the most broad level possible. No, and I thought the couple didn't seem very well developed either.
No, it felt rushed, and again, you're limited by the presentation of your story. Which again, let's switch back to a little bit of good. We were both kind of it remains to me impressive that you can get across a full hour-and-a-half long movie just through laptop footage, and various things you can do with it. Like, I was surprised at the fact that it was carrying a story, and I was following the little icons around, and it was developing stuff for me, and I was decoding things I was seeing, and it was like, wow, this is, it's just surprising to me that it actually works as a film that way, all from the laptop screen. But, it didn't make up for a slow story, but it was an intriguing presentation.
I agree with that, definitely. I don't typically like these kind of films, and I can't say I've seen an abundance of them, but that's because I don't gravitate towards them. But, I mean, the film started with, you hear the Apple boot up sound, and the entire film is the screen of his laptop. The entire film. There's just different windows that pop up, and all the little notifications, and just the implementation of the social media aspects and different stuff. I mean, it was cool. It was very, very interestingly framed, I guess, and it worked better than I thought that it would, but it still couldn't, the presentation couldn't cover up the flaws of the film, which there are many.
Yeah. You know, and I'm thinking about it, there's not even that much to really spoil, so I don't know that we will
Yeah.
deserve a full spoiler review. We'll leave that to you guys if you want to see it. It's, you know, it's very similar to the first one in a lot of respects, but they changed.
And you liked the first one better, you
I
said.
did like the first one better, yeah. It was much more satisfying. And much more up my alley, because, you know, I'm more of a ghostly guy. I don't like the real life or the technological fucking. I don't like the groupie sort of. That stuff.
I'm right there with you,
man. It's not interesting
man.
to me. It's not interesting to me. So it was like, it's weird that they made a movie that I was interested to finish, while being a movie about something that's not interesting to me. So I don't know. It's a weird dichotomy, I suppose, with this one.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. Effects wise, anything to write home about for you?
Not really too much beyond, you know, just how interestingly they laid everything out as far as, you know, like different windows coming up, but I mean, it's nothing different than what I see on my computer already. I guess maybe set design with some of the videos that they showed that were hiding in these hidden folders on the computer, the design of those rooms and stuff were kind of dope, but I didn't see enough of that. I thought that was the aspect of the story that compelled me, and yet they're just like, oh, here's a taste of a body that's gonna have gasoline poured on it, and here's somebody in like these big drum barrels. But you see that in the trailer, and they didn't really explore that scary shizzle very much at all. They went to the thing of these kids getting picked off that I didn't find compelling. I was, once again, more compelled by those horrible videos and the things that, you know, were supposed to be so disturbing and everything. And, you know, we just got a little taste of them as opposed to really pulling the curtain back and showing how messed up some of the stuff those people were doing was. So.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, we should have said at the beginning, this review brought to you by Apple, Google, Skype, and Cards Against Humanity, because Jesus Christ.
So much product placement.
Oh my God.
It probably covered the entire budget of this little film.
Yeah, for real. Especially Cards Against Humanity, by the way, now with the bigger, longer black box expansion pack. It's like, holy Jesus, guys. Like, just fucking straight up do an infomercial in the middle of your movie.
Yeah, I got sick of Cards Against Humanity years ago. That's not cool anymore at all.
I don't know. Any final thoughts on it, Fuego?
It makes me wonder. I guarantee this movie is going to make money based on the low budget that it has. I know that's why they filmed this one in secret, and then they decided to just debut it at one of the recent film festivals. And so I would imagine, man, there's flies flying around because it's monsoon season in Arizona. I love it. But I would imagine we're going to see more anthology entries of this series. I do not believe this is the end of Unfriended. I think with a tiny microscopic budget, the fact that it's Blumhouse and, you know, the last one was successful enough, we'll totally see a third one. And who knows, maybe they could explore a different subsect of this sort of, you know, reality found footagey horror, and maybe they could do something more interesting like the last one, like you said. So
I hope so. I definitely hope so. Make it a clowny Unfriended sort of situation. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Let me think about it. I'll come up with a better idea.
There you go.
But all right, guys. I think that's going to do it for our review of Unfriended Dark Web. No spoilers necessary. It's
not really. There's not really much to spoil.
No, there's really not. So let us know in the comments down below. Are you going to actually run out and see this, or will you wait and watch it on VOD of some kind? I'd be interested to hear y'all's opinion. Did you like the first one? Does this one look entertaining to you? Does it bum you out that it doesn't go the supernatural route? I know that's might be a bit of a spoiler for you, but that's the premise of the movie. You can kind of see it in the trailer. So, you know, sorry if you feel like we ruined that, but
sorry about that.
You need to know if that's a bummer for you, then keep that in mind. I'm saving you some money.
We're here to inform you guys.
Indeed,
that's the job.
Thank you also to our patrons, of course, for supporting the channel monetarily outside of just watching the videos. We greatly appreciate you. We have more reviews coming up soon, but for now, continue to enjoy In the Mouth of Madness, because that is some good stuff. We're going to be recording a lot of stuff this weekend, including Fuego and I are going to be recording a interview on Sunday at 3 p.m. if he can make it here by then, with someone very special leading up to our Meg screening 2 weeks after that. So it is going to be good stuff, and then we're going to do a couple of reviews for Patreon as well. So thank you guys very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, I've been Jaime and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.